Welcome to the CRJ 200 flight deck introduction. Going to talk about the instrumentation and the switches here in the cockpit of the CRJ. It's made up of 6 main EFIS tubes, and we have an overhead panel as well to control the systems of the aircraft. In the center we have the ICAS and the standby instruments. Left and right we have the PFD and MFD displays, both duplicates. Center panel still we have communications, radios, and intercoms and so forth. Overhead panel is compromised of 3 separate panels. On the left we have mainly electrical, center we have fuel and engines, and right we have air conditioning and ice controls. And just below that we have lighting and ELT information there. Now we're going to take a little bit closer look at the PFDs and the MFDs. Both the pilot and the co-pilot have a duplicate view of what's going on with the aircraft. Here we're going to take a look at the MFD more specifically. We'll freeze the frame here for you. Up on the left you can see the terrain is being displayed. UTC time, true air speed, ground speed, and static air temperature information always available for the pilots. The color of all the information does have meaning. For example, the magenta throughout the flight deck is typically where we are going. So that's the current go-to place. The white is informational. So here in this case we're going to CMK, which is 49 miles and 6 minutes away. And then the next fix will be Albany, ALB, 138 miles. And your final destination, which will always remain up there, is Manchester with 243 miles, only 34 minutes away. Also you see wind information, 286 degrees at 134 knots, typical of the winter time up in the jet stream. Also following that color, you can see our heading bug. We are heading of 022 degrees, and our heading bug is bugged on that heading. But our actual go-to, which is green, the little donut on the right, so you can see that 134 knot wind is giving us approximately 20 degrees left correction at our indicated airspeed and at our altitude. Also on this display you can see the compass rose, or the majority of the compass rose there across the top, always providing us a good orientation to where our course line is. Other information being displayed here is you can see some terrain information in the green, the blotchy. It shows the highest terrain is 1,500 feet, and that's GPS derived. Also you see some traffic information there as well. On the live picture now you can see the terrain. It shows kind of like a radar, but it's actually derived from the GPS. And a little more specific on the left circle here, the highest terrain is 1,500 feet, lowest terrain is 400 feet. And you can also see in the center circle there, that is one of the highest obstacles in our area. That terrain will change colors if it's higher or lower. If it's higher, it'll turn red. It'll turn yellow if it's within a pretty much level range of our aircraft. We're also showing traffic here by the arrow. That traffic is an open diamond representing a non-threat to our aircraft. It is 100 feet above our aircraft, and that other traffic is climbing. Here is a very busy approach corridor into Atlanta, and you can see the mass amounts of airplanes. The mile range is up to 20 miles, the farthest outer ring. So all those airplanes are basically within about 15 miles. They are right on top of each other, going down final approach into Atlanta. So you can see it gets very busy sometimes. Here we're looking at the wind information as discussed earlier, 287 degrees at 134 knots. And the right box shows that effect on our aircraft. The green donut is actually where the airplane is traveling over the ground, so approximately a 040 heading. But the airplane is pointed on a 022 degree heading, and that keeps us going along the course line over the ground. Here's a view of some weather up at altitude, and this is what it looks like on our screen inside the cockpit. We don't always get the opportunity to look outside, for example, at nighttime, or if we are inside of a cloud. So we'll look at the radar on our screen here at 80 mile range. You can see some heavy cell activity at 1 o'clock position, about 45 to 50 miles. The steep contrast in color, the magenta, red, yellow, and green, indicates pretty much a thunderstorm activity, and that is extremely dangerous if we flew into that. So we'll go around that and then give everybody a nice smooth ride. Here again is a live picture. You can see some information. We got the train up there. We also have put up the area airports. Teterboro, 12 o'clock there. Newark off our left, JFK off of our right, LaGuardia up ahead. And you can see some traffic there, and we're just zooming in and out, giving different ranges. We have VORs displayed up there now, up in the upper left-hand corner. So we can put a multitude of information up there. Sometimes it gets too cluttered, so we start paring back the information like we have here, or zooming in whenever there's something we want to look closer at. Here looking at the PFD a little bit as we're in flight here, climbing to 26,000 feet. Once again, we're in vertical speed mode. That's what we're doing, so it's green, 400 foot per minute climb as we're approaching our level off altitude here of 27,000 feet. And magenta, as I said before, we're going to it. So it's 27, we're going to 27,000 feet. You can see the ALTS has captured there on the autopilot, so it's flashing. And now it's established, so it's a solid color. We have navigation selected to the FMS here. So the autopilot is coupling all the information to the FMS. We're doing Mach 0.74. And on the left-hand side, you can see the maximum speed raster, the red and black raster, coming to our max speed at this altitude, and that adjusts for whatever altitude we're at automatically. We have the speed bug set at 320 indicated airspeed, and at this altitude it's probably about Mach 0.80 or so, the max speed for the aircraft. The speed bug, or correction, the speed indicator is showing us at 300 knots, and a little trend arrow, if you can see it there, that indicates our aircraft speed in the next 6 seconds. So the altitude and the speed both have this little trend arrow indicating where the airplane is going to be in the next 6 seconds or so. Also here the DG below is showing a white needle. We can display the white needle, which is FMS course information, or we can display a VOR needle, or a localizer needle, or we can also display ADF needles. So we can put a lot of information on top of each other there all at the same time, or just individually. Here looking at the ICAS, which is clear, there are no messages, it's all black. This is also our engine gauges, and these gauges, you'll notice, don't have any number ticks on them. They just have a maximum value, and that's the most important thing we're interested in. And then the current value obviously is in digital format there. Shows us fuel flow, oil temperature, oil pressure. All these numbers will turn red if they are exceeding some kind of a limitation, and most likely we'll get some kind of a audio warning associated with that. We have vibration indicators down below there. Once again, no values specifically on the gauge, just yellow zones, red zones, and green zones. So it gives you a very easy depiction of what you need to have versus what's actually occurring. See also the fuel quantity there, measured in pounds, and total fuel 4,610 pounds. Standby instruments, typical stuff there. Hopefully we never have to use those. And this is our systems page, basically. Here's an overview of the cockpit. You can see the buttons used down on the center pedestal, which control what's displayed on our systems page. This is a very useful